we're presently producing at an annualised rate of 150,000 ounces a year of gold as a first step. And that's happening. And in parallel with that, we're continuing to overhaul the plant, and we'll be spending in total up to $150 million on overhauling that plant, and we'll take it back to a condition that will be better than when it was first designed and built. By that I mean that that plant has never been winterized. In the winter this year, the plant shut down for several weeks simply because the weather got to minus 35 degrees centigrade. That's fairly cool, and all of the lines freeze, soda ash lines, fuel lines, water lines all freeze. So everybody historically for the last 25 or so years have just said, well, we'll just knock off and shut the plant down. The lost production is obvious. So in Canada, we don't do that. We build sheds around the plant, we insulate the plant, we do all sorts of things that are all engineeringly possible, and we make sure that that plant can operate 24/7, 365 days a year. So that's what we're doing. We solved the mercury emission problem by putting new technology that was proprietary. It was developed by our Chief Operating Officer. It's unique and protected technology, and that's enabled us to take the emission of mercury from something in the order of 10,000 pounds a year to atmosphere, and that was permitted, if you can believe that, down to 10 pounds per year. That's a very, very significant reduction, and no one in the industry is achieving that. So we are now the industry leaders. What that's enabled us to do, under the supervision and control of the regulators, is for gradual increases in our throughput rate. We started months ago at 70 tonne an hour through each roaster circuit. We then progressed in 10 tonne an hour increments to 80 tonne an hour, 90 tonne an hour. We're now testing for 100 tonne an hour, and we've run briefly at 120 with the regulator's approval, just to show that the technology is scalable. We are replacing the tailings dam. We've committed to spend $50 million on a new tailings dam. It will be double-lined. It will be in full environmental compliance, which we are now. We're not out of compliance. And then we will gradually close the old facility down, and that'll give us 20 plus years of capacity to keep operating that plant. So we'll have a good plant. We'll have the ability to legally dispose of our tailings with fully permitted. And then the other part of that puzzle is to make sure we have enough feed for the plant. In the short term, we're using stockpiled ore that we have, which is on the property, which is owned. We are contributing to our feed 1,000 tonne a day from the Smith mine at the moment. We're currently working on reopening the SSX and Steer complex, which will contribute another 1,200 to 1,400 tonne a day, and we have the Starvation Canyon mine in the process of being permitted. So the combination of those three underground mines, which are ours, will contribute about 3,000 tonne a day. That means we have another 3,000 tonne a day of spare capacity. And in the short term, we will acquire projects that have refractory ore from companies that do not have a roaster, and they're not likely to be able to build one. And most of the companies that have this sort of material are not operating companies. They are exploring companies. They're very good at what they do, but they don't have any will, and they may not even have market support to be able to raise the capital or the desire to go and do that, because the permitting process for such a facility is probably in the order of 8 to 10 years. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, and they generally don't want to wait around while the asset just sits there doing not much at all. So it's far better for them to sell it to us, realise a profit, and they can leave town with a bag full of money, and we have feed for our mill. So we're out with a shopping list dealing with companies, and in the near future we hope to be able to announce that we've acquired something like 10 years of feed that would be on our balance sheet, and the market will then be able to see that we can feed an increased capacity plant for at least 10 years, producing in the range 500,000 or more ounces per year. So we're starting to show the market that we can become a sizable gold producer. Depending on the grade that we can put through that mill, we could become a 1 million ounce producer or more per year. So that's the plan. We have a facility that will enable us to do that, and we're exploiting that. In relation to acquiring other projects from exploring companies, we have a medium-term objective of restarting our exploration activities so that the ore that we will ultimately feed to the mill will be our own ore. That's, of course, cheaper ore, and provided we get the grades that we hope for and the exploration success that we hope for, we would be able to then show the market that we've got more than 10 years of feed. And depending on which grade is the highest grade, depending on the gold price of the day, we can mix and match ore from our own property or ore from acquired properties to get the optimum rate of return. In terms of building our exploration team, we have made several announcements recently of key staff that we've hired. We've been building a large database that has not been done previously. Successive owners of this property have haphazardly, I would say, explored and recorded exploration and production data, but no one through the successive owners been able to put the focus properly on building a consolidated database so that we could see just what the geological picture was. And we have 25 years of data. We have thousands and thousands of holes drilled. We have a lot of production data that shows us what's really there. You're not staring down a drill hole hoping that the values are there. And so we have now almost completed that. We're in the process of producing a new 43-101, probably late this year, early next year. And that will show the market that we're off and running, and we in fact have got some results already. We've been releasing exploration data recently. That's in our news releases, and that's showing that we're getting some pretty good results. So that's the medium-term objective, and that will, of course, be cheaper for us because we won't have to go out and buy these expensive projects, but that's in the future.